welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about the 12th book in the Princess Diaries. Now, for those of you who are watching this series, you realize everything looks very, very different. That's because I am filming this on the 30th of March of 2023. The book came out a couple weeks ago. So that's why this is completely different background. I've redone my office. I've moved things around. It's spring. Please notice my allergies are going nuts because it has been wet. It has been windy. I am getting allergy shots because my allergies are going bonkers. So my voice is a little thrown up. Scratchy. I also have a almost 4-year-old at this point. My daughter will be 4 in about 4 months. She talks a lot. She's really annoying. I love her to death, but she talks a lot and is never quiet. So, yeah, I have a small kid. So, that is why this video had taken so long compared to months ago when I filmed the first Princess Diaries, which was probably at the beginning of 2022 is when I started doing these. But again, this book did not come out until a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, I did the ebook form. I could probably get a hold of a physical form. Technically, I have it on hold at the library, but you know what? I'm just going to do it. I read it last night. It's a good book. So, some of this was released during COVID, where Meg Cabot released some of Mia's diary entries on her blog. But the entire book, of course, has new content and is completely differently formatted. And it's a 300-page book. It is very fun. So, obviously, this book takes place in 2020, because this is Quarantine Princess. This is talking about COVID-19. So, Mia is older. The twins are now 2. You don't really see a lot of Olivia in this. You see a little bit more of Rocky. But a lot of this is Mia and Michael and a few of her other friends. You have Lana shows up here with her husband and her children and her nanny. Grandmère is obviously being annoying. You don't actually see a lot. Again, this is not focused on. You don't really hear much of what's going on with Olivia. She's 16 at this point. Rocky is still annoying. You see her father and her mother just a little bit. Obviously, Lily has shown up. Michael is here. Let's see who else. And her friend, who's the doctor in New York, pops up, as does Boris. Yes, Boris. Yeah, their little love thing is still going on. And no, they're not married yet. So, moving on to what this story is. So, Mia has her weekly thing with the Prime Minister. It's like, so we need to shut everything down. So, COVID-19 is hit. I can't remember the exact date, but they closed the borders, they shut everything down in Genovia to prevent the spread. Obviously, people are pissed off, including, if not especially, one Grandmère who, the previous evening was caught on Mia's yacht with a bunch of other old ladies, some young gentlemen, inexposed. Please reference that Mia's Grandmère is like 90. And for some reason, both Fat Louie and Rommel are still alive. For those who are following this series, this makes no sense. Rommel was old when Mia was 14. Fat Louie was an adult cat when Mia was 14. Mia is getting close to was 26 in the last book. She's like 28 now. And she's had Fat Louie since she was like 10. So, Fat Louie, why? Being well taken care of. Not to mention, who the heck knows? Rommel is toothless. He doesn't show up that much. Fat Louie ends up going to the vet because he was drinking pool water. Moving on. But yes, Grandmère in the beginning of this was caught indisposed with some of her 90-year-old ladies dancing topless with some frat boys from Florida. Yeah, on Mia's yacht. Grandmother was not happy. Mia was most certainly not happy as she tells off her grandmother for, getting photographed topless in her 90s. Or just photographed topless, on top of which, remember, these are other noble women who are getting involved in this. So, yeah. Interesting thing. But cousin Ivan is not happy because, again, he owns a bunch of bars here. And it's summer. Or I don't know whether it's... No, never mind. It's not. It's winter because they're Mediterranean. So people are escaping the cold in Genovia. So it's almost hot tourist season there. So cousin Ivan is not happy because he owns a bunch of bars. A lot of people aren't happy because Mia shut everything down. Hotels, bars, restaurants, anything that's not essential. Apparently vets are essential. So cousin Ivan pays people to protest in front with beer. He bribes them with beer. Not a lot of them show up. They get rid of them. But they're protesting everything being shut down. Eventually they have to, and they do get one case, which strangely enough is one of the frat boys. And now Grandmère has to show social distance. Now during some of this, Michael, who is still working, he moves his company's been moved to Genovia. They're still doing medical stuff. They were working on something in the hospital. And so he has to quarantine because he was at the hospital. So he quarantines for 14 days. Is it 7 days? Or no, it's 14. He has to quarantine for 14 days because he also refuses to get tested because they don't get a lot of tests once they come out because they're a small European country. And Mia's constantly arguing with Germany to get more tests. Sorry. I took a bar class this morning. I have a 3-year-old. I have crazy cats. I'm tired. So, moving on. So, yes, constant... And then Lily shows up because she's being sued by the Restaurant and Hotel Association. And cousin Ivan, who, again, they actually catch pretty quickly sneaking people into one of his bars. Unfortunately, he posted the password online because cousin Ivan's not smart. So, you deal with cousin Ivan there. And then the twins. And then Lana shows up when they reopen the country and they start getting a whole bunch of COVID cases. And Grandmère is going to marry one of the frat boys because she convinces them. One gets sick, ends up in the hospital. The other one, I believe, by the name of Derek, Grandmère convinces to put him up in their one of their pool houses. So, yeah. Grandmère decides to get married to a 20-something-year-old frat boy from Florida. Florida man story showing up in Meg Cabot. So, first they try to get Mia to open up the country. She doesn't. Then eventually she's kind of pushed to open up the country because they only had one case. Then cases skyrocket. Mia puts in, you have to do social distancing, and where she puts out a mask mandate. And then her cousin Renee and a bunch of other people start protesting the mask mandate. And they're going kind of crazy. And that kind of goes on. Michael gets out of quarantine. He's fine. Lana shows up with her nanny and her husband and her 2 kids. The nanny runs off with Derek. That's what happens there. His friend actually sticks around to tutor Rocky, who's not doing well. He's very, very social. He is very, very lazy. And so he is not happy in quarantine because all he has to deal with are the twins, his parents, and his half-sister Olivia, who's 16 and wants nothing to do with him because he's 16. Olivia periodically shows up giving facts while sitting on her phone about COVID-19. Besides complaining that she was supposed to give a giant presentation on iguanas, and that very much implies that she is still dating she still has her boyfriend. So, since she was like 12, 13. So her books, check out the notebooks of the middle school princess. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Olivia's, Mia's half-sister. So, that's not my kid. Moving on. So back to Cousin Renee. So part of the end of the book is Cousin Renee is being crazy. Her and Lily sneak out with their bodyguards and drag Renee to talk to Ivan, who had caught it. He caught COVID-19. He was very, very sick. He tries to convince him. Renee is apparently also getting divorced from his wife because she's sick of his nonsense. And then he runs off. So it's a 300-page book. It's very, very interesting. It's accumulation of things. It's definitely a moment in time, but you get to see how Mia has to react between issues of the school closing down, and them not being able to having difficulties, even though they're a small European country, in a private school, but trying to get up Zoom meetings going on, which takes a while for them to get the school going. All the people protesting, and some of the decisions that she and the Prime Minister have to make to protect people and the results of it. And you have the different complaints and various different people. She's being sued at one point in time by a small business that was losing business because they had to be shut down. They've been around for hundreds of years. So you get to see a lot of that discourse that we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, eventually, Michael's, obviously fictional company with hospitals, develop a vaccine that goes in the nose. So this is a snorting vaccine, which eventually Mia takes, as well as Grandmère. Grandmère gets, and rather than having a big wedding, she ends up being filmed getting the first vaccine because she's an elderly woman in her 90s and most at risk, not to mention, alcoholic and addicted to cigarettes. So yes, she's in a high risk category besides being the dowager princess of Genovia. She'd be getting a vaccine anyway. So you also get some of the comments between Lana and her husband about how quickly the vaccine is coming along, and Michael having to explain that no, it's connected to MERS and SARS, so we already have a basis here, and this is how we're moving so quickly with this. So you really do get a lot of what we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic. All the concerns are voiced in this 300-page book. So for those of us who lived through it, it is very interesting. It is not scary at all. It's a fun book. It's still light and fluffy like everything else. I personally enjoyed it because, again, light and fluffy. We're also on the other side of COVID-19, sort of. We're in the United States here. We have lots of dumb people who refuse to get vaccinated. And all sorts of very, very dumb people. For those of us as a time capsule in time here when I'm filming this, again, this is the 30th of March of 2023. So in our current news, Trump has been indicted in the state of New York for what we don't quite know yet. A lot of stuff. But that's kind of, we're on the other side of COVID, but it's a fun, easy read when we're on the other side of COVID, at least for most of us who have enough sense to have had multiple shots. In my case, I think I'm up to 4. The 2 Pfizer, a 3rd Pfizer booster, a Moderna booster. My daughter's had 3 shots, the 3 Moderna shots. So it's most of my family. And of course we have our flu shots because we're not messing with that. So, but it's a fun, fluffy read. It fits along with the book series. You get to see a lot of the returning characters. Oh yes, the Boris, that storyline. He decides to buy a house in Malibu and tries to get his girlfriend to go with him, and she refuses. They break up. Mia pushes Michael to yell at him. He shows up. He begs. He decides to propose. He goes back to New York, buys a house in the Hamptons, sells the house in Malibu, and proposes, and they're getting married. Because of course she's in her residency. That's where his girlfriend's at, which is still very, very interesting. Because it's like you have a medical resident who's dating one of the highest paid rock stars in America, which of course Mia still mentions, like, this makes no sense. This is the guy we used to shove in a locker because he was clearing classical music and I believe he was playing the violin, and driving them all crazy in high school. So it's still very interesting. Of course, you get that in book 11. So it's a fun, engaging, fluffy read that really fits in with this series. I am hoping Meg Cabot does in fact continue on with the adult series because I do enjoy Mia. I'd like to see more of Olivia as well and seeing how her relationships go, or maybe a little bit of Rocket. The most of her main characters are, of course, female. So it's very, very interesting and extremely enjoyable. So if you like the Princess Diaries series, if you like the Notebooks of the Middle School Princess, please check this out. Again, this is the last of these videos because it's the last of the books, because again, I'm filming this in March and it just came out. If she has more, I will film it. If there is going to be another Princess Diaries films, I will review it just because I enjoy this series. So, as you guys are watching this, again, this is going to be pretty well present. So this is going to look very, very different from the videos that you are going to be seeing from now on until we get closer to the very end of the year. Because I just finished the Ali Finkel series, which is my other Meg Cabot series that I'm covering that's about a 9-year-old in Maine. And no, I'm not going back to Meg Cabot for a while. I don't have any plans for 2024 for Meg Cabot. 2024 book series involves graphic novels of the Animorphs, Catherine Lasky, where I'm covering the Guardians of Ga'Hoole. That's going to be coming this summer, which again, I finished those months ago. So I'm going back to her covering both her Wolves, which will be the end of this year, then the Polar Bears, which are much shorter series, like 3 to 4 on those. And then I'm going to the 3 graphic novels of the Animorphs. No, I can't cover the entire book series because I can't find it. I tried. So I'm dealing with the 3 graphic novels that I can get a hold of. Then we're going into an in-depth look at Anne of Green Gables. Then we're going even younger and we're looking at the Boxcar Children. I am only doing the first 19. Those were written by the original author. So I'm covering the first 19 because there's hundreds of these things. So I'm cutting it off there. And then I'm going to the Wings of Fire series, which no, I don't know anything about. Going in blind. I'm going in blind for the Animorph stuff as well. As well as the Boxcar Children. I know something about the Boxcar Children. I'm not oblivious. But I have certainly not read all 19 books. So that is what is incoming. Guardians of... following this series, you are going to get Tamora Pierce. You're getting Lioness... the Lioness Quartet, the Immortals Quartet. Then we're going into we're going into Catherine Lassie's The Guardians of Ga'Hoole, which is like 18. I think there's 15 books and there's 2 extras. And then you go into Ali Finkel. Then we're going to go finish off the Catherine Lasky. And then we're moving into 2024. So, along with a bunch of other stuff, I'm doing some LGBTQ stuff this year incoming. We still have some medieval stuff, which is what's going to be coming. March is obviously covered in, you guys, Irish stuff. I'm doing Asian American History Month. I'm doing unicorns. Trying to think of what else I'm covering. Music. Doing a bunch of musicals incoming. Those are going to be incoming as well. So, and along with, hopefully we'll get a travel video in here for our trip to Idaho. So I will film that after that trip. That's going to be in early July this year. So, and then we have some other trips planned. Hopefully I will post those as they come along, and those will come out on Wednesdays. So, like and subscribe. If you haven't seen the rest of the Princess Diaries stuff, by the way, go back, watch everything. Otherwise, none of what I just said would make absolutely any sense. It just wouldn't. So, like and subscribe, leave a positive comment if you have one. Thank you.